Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're uncorking the mysteries of Chablis, a region in France that's kind of got a cult following in the wine world, right?
Absolutely. And it's a fascinating one, too.
Yeah, I mean, we're diving deep into this pretty amazing book all about Chablis. It's got maps and tasting notes and history.
Really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's really making me rethink, I don't know, just what Chablis actually is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our mission today. We're going way beyond like, oh, it's Chardonnay, because it's so much more than just your average Chardonnay.
Way more. And this book really gets into the details of why.
Okay, so first things first. The book keeps talking about Chablis being like the ultimate example of terroir. You know, that whole French concept of how the place, like the actual ground the grapes grow in, makes a huge difference.
Huge E. It's not just the grape, it's the whole environment. The soil, the climate, even the history of a place. That's what terroir is all about.
So like even if you planted, I don't know, Cabernet Sauvignon in Chablis,
Yeah.
it wouldn't taste like a Cabernet from, say, Napa Valley.
Exactly. It would still have that Chablis character, that unique fingerprint of the region.
So what is it about Chablis specifically? This book keeps mentioning Kimmeridgian soil, and I'm like, what even I asked that? It sounds ancient.
It ass ancient. Think like a Jurassic period seabed packed with millions of fossilized seashells, tiny little oysters and stuff.
Whoa, so the vines are growing in what, basically a giant fossil bed?
Basically. And that gives the wine this incredible minerality, this sort of chalky, almost salty edge that you just don't find anywhere else. It's
So
wild.
the use of Chablis, you're tasting like millions of years of history.
You got it. History in a glass.
Okay, well, speaking of history, the book goes deep into the backstory of how Chablis even became a wine region. And it all started way back in the 12th century, right?
Yep, the Cistercian monks, they were like the OG winemakers in Chablis. They saw the potential of this land, planted those first Chardonnay vines, and really laid the foundation for everything that came after.
Dedicated monks.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love learning that the name Chablis comes from Chambeau, meaning beautiful fields in Old French.
Beautiful fields indeed. Whoever named it was spot on. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses for Chablis, though, was it?
Definitely not. I mean, the book talks about phylloxera, which I guess was that devastating vine disease that wiped out vineyards all over Europe.
Yep, in the late 1800s, phylloxera hit Chablis hard. It was a huge setback, but, the region bounced back, like it always seems to.
They replanted, grafted those vines onto resistant rootstock, and rebuilt. Talk about resilience.
Chablis has seen it all. Wars, frost, you name it. But it always comes back, stronger than ever. It's a testament to the dedication of the people who make this wine.
Okay, so we've got the ancient soils, the history, but the book also stresses how the climate, the weather in Chablis, really shapes those grapes.
Absolutely. Those cold winters and hot summers, talk about extremes. They create this tension in the grapes, this perfect balance of ripeness and acidity.
Which explains why Chablis has that, crisp, refreshing, almost steely quality that people love.
Exactly. It's not just about the sunshine, it's about that push and pull between the elements.
Now, here's where I got really confused. Turns out there are all these different Chardonnay clones used in Chablis. I always thought Chardonnay was like one thing.
Nope. There are actually loads of Chardonnay clones, each with its own subtle variations in flavor and aroma. Think of it like different varieties of apples. They're all apples, but some are sweeter, some are tartar. Right.
So even within Chardonnay, there's a whole world of diversity. That's cool. But I also read that some Chablis producers are using like a Californian clone called Old Wente. I thought this was all about, French terroir.
It's true. Some winemakers are open to experimenting with different clones to see how they express themselves in Chablis. It's about finding the best fit for the land, whether it's a traditional French clone or something from, say, California.
It's like they're adding a little twist to the classic recipe.
Exactly. And it's that blend of tradition and innovation that makes Chablis so fascinating.
But even with all these new ideas, it's clear that Chablis producers really respect those old school techniques.
Oh, absolutely. The book talks about all the meticulous work they do in the vineyards. Pruning, training the vines, carefully controlling the yield. It's a labor of love.
It's about quality over quantity, right?
Always. And it shows in the final product. You can taste the care and attention that goes into every bottle.
Speaking of the final product, let's talk oak aging. Because the book mentions there's a bit of a debate in Chablis about whether or not to use oak barrels.
Yeah, it's a stylistic choice. Some winemakers love oak, adding those vanilla and spicy notes to the wine. Others prefer to let the pure, mineral-driven character of Chablis shine through without any oak influence. It's like choosing between a bold painting and a delicate watercolor.
How do you even know what you're getting when you pick up a bottle of Chablis? Is there like a cheat sheet?
Well, luckily, Chablis has a classification system that can help us navigate all the different styles. It all starts with the four main types.
Okay, break it down for me. What are we looking at?
So you've got Petit Chablis, which is like your entry-level Chablis. It's young, fresh, easy to drink, perfect for a sunny afternoon.
Sounds approachable. And then
Then you have Simply Chablis, which is like the classic expression of the region. You get that beautiful minerality, that vibrant acidity, that quintessential Chablis character.
heart and soul of Chablis in a bottle.
Exactly. And then we move up to Premier Cru. These wines come from specific vineyards that are known for their high quality. They're a bit more complex, a bit more age-worthy.
Fancy. And finally,
And finally, the Grand Cru, the crème de la crème of Chablis. These are wines from 7 exceptional vineyards that are like legendary for their complexity and aging potential.
okay, I'm getting the hierarchy here. But those Grand Crus, I mean, the book really dives into each one individually. They sound pretty incredible.
They are. Each Grand Cru has its own distinct personality, influenced by tiny variations in the soil, the slope of the land, how much sun it gets. It's amazing how these small differences can make such a big impact on the wine.
So even within the Grand Crus, there's this whole micro-terroir thing going on. It's mind-boggling.
It really shows the power of place, right? But it's not just about the wine itself. The book also talks about enoturism in Chablis.
Eno-tourism, so like wine tourism.
Exactly. Imagine exploring those rolling vineyards, visiting historic cellars, going on tastings led by passionate winemakers. It's a whole immersive experience.
Sounds like a dream trip for any wine lover. I'd love to wander through those charming villages, maybe stop for a picnic with a baguette, some cheese, and a bottle of chilled Chablis.
Now you're talking. And speaking of cheese, a young Chablis with its bright acidity pairs beautifully with a creamy goat cheese. It's a classic pairing.
Okay, I'm officially adding Chablis to my travel bucket list. But let's not get too carried away just yet, because the book also highlights some of the challenges facing the region. Climate change, disease pressure, the global wine market. That's a lot to navigate.
It is, but what I find so inspiring about Chablis is that the producers are facing these challenges head on. They're not just sitting back and hoping for the best, they're actively shaping the future of Chablis.
Well, that's a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to unpack, especially those challenges on the horizon.
We do, and we'll get to all of it in part 2.
So stick around as we uncover the resilience and ingenuity that are shaping the future of this mineral masterpiece. We'll be right back.
All right, so are you ready to dive into the Grand Crus? These are like the superstars of Chablis, right?
Totally. I'm ready to meet these rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
In part 1, you said that each Grand Cru has a distinct personality, so what can we expect?
Well, each one is a unique expression of Chablis, influenced by like the tiniest variations in the soil and the slope of the land and even how much sun it gets.
It's crazy how much these little details matter.
It really is. So let's start with Bougros. Bougros is known for being like the richest and most opulent of the Grand Crus.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about Bougros in the book. It said something about the soil having a higher clay content. Does that explain why it's so rich?
Exactly. That clay gives the wines like a fuller body, almost a velvety texture, and you often find aromas of ripe fruit and honey and even a hint of spice in Bougros.
So if someone is looking for a Chablis that's got a little more body, a bit more roundness, Bougros would be a good one to try.
Absolutely. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Les Clos. It's the largest and most famous of the Grands Crus, and it's all about power and structure.
The book described Les Clos as having a backbone of minerality. What does that even mean?
Well, imagine a wine with this strong, almost steely core, with layers of complexity built on top of that strong mineral foundation. So you'll find citrus fruit, a long, lingering finish, and incredible aging potential in Les Clos. These wines are built to last.
So that's one to age, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now we've got richness in Bougros, power in Les Clos. What other personalities are we going to find in these Grand Crus?
I'm all ears.
Well, next up is Vaudesir. If Bougros is about opulence and Les Clos is power, Vaudesir is all about elegance and finesse.
I'm picturing like a ballerina.
Ha ha ha, yeah. The wines from Vaudesir have a delicate saline note, almost like a whisper of the sea, and that's from the marl in the soil, which adds like another dimension to that unique Chablis minerality.
So we've got all these layers of minerality going on. Fascinating. Okay, now we have to talk about grenouille because, well, I mean frogs in French. Are we talking like a swampy terroir here?
No swamps involved. But the name's kind of fitting because Grenouille actually produces some of the most delicate and floral Chablis.
So instead of froggy, we're thinking more like a spring garden.
Yeah, like a bouquet. Think aromas of acacia and honeysuckle and white fruit, all lifted by that vibrant acidity that keeps everything super fresh and lively.
Okay, so far we've got richness, power, elegance, and floral delicacy. What else is there?
Well, let's talk about Valmore. This Grand Cru is all about harmony and balance. It's where power meets elegance, resulting in these rich, complex wines.
So Velmer is like the diplomat of the Grand Cruise, bringing everyone together.
I like that. The wines often show notes of yellow fruit and spice, and they have this beautiful texture that comes from perfectly ripe grapes.
Okay, we're over halfway through the Grand Cruise now. What about Prises? Because I remember reading that there's a lot of flint in the soil there.
Pruses. Now, if you want a Chablis that's going to grab your attention, this is it. The high concentration of flint in the soil gives the wines a really distinctive, smoky, flinty note. And they have this intense energy and a real sense of power.
So Prises is like the rebel of the group, the one that breaks all the rules.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a Chablis for people who like bold flavors. Now, last but not least, we have Blanc, which is often considered the most approachable of the Grand Crus.
Approachable, does that mean it's less complex?
No, not at all. It's more about the perfect balance and elegance. So you get citrus fruit, white flowers, maybe a hint of almond. It's just a great intro to Grand Cru Chablis because it showcases those classic qualities in a really approachable style.
Wow. This has been an incredible journey through the Grand Cruise. Each one sounds so unique and distinct. It's amazing how such small geographical differences can result in such a wide range of styles.
It's truly a testament to the power of terroir, right?
Yeah.
And it also really highlights the incredible skill of the winemakers who are working with these tiny parcels of land, understanding all the little nuances of each vineyard, and crafting these wines that truly express the character of their place.
I think this deep dive has helped me understand, there's so much more to a bottle of wine than just the grape variety. It's about a place, a history, an entire philosophy of winemaking.
Exactly, and Chablis really embodies that. But even with all this history and tradition and those amazing Grand Crus, Chablis isn't immune to the challenges that wine regions all over the world are facing, today.
That's right. We talked about climate change, disease pressure,
Yeah.
the global wine market. It sounds like a lot to juggle.
It is. It's a lot for any wine region to handle. But what I find so inspiring about Chablis is that the producers there are facing these challenges head on with both a respect for tradition and a willingness to innovate.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's talk about those challenges and find out how Chablis is adapting to this changing world. Okay, so we've really gotten to know Chablis, the history, the terroir, the incredible Grand Cru, but we have to talk about the reality of winemaking today. In the 21st century. The book definitely doesn't shy away from the challenges, and climate change is a big one.
It is, and it's affecting wine regions all over the world. But Chablis, with its continental climate, those cold winters and hot summers, it's especially sensitive to the shifts in weather patterns. We're seeing warmer temperatures overall, which means the grapes are ripening faster.
And that's not necessarily a good thing.
Right, because too much ripeness, too much sun and heat can throw off that balance that makes Chablis so special, that crispness, that acidity.
We don't want a flabby Chablis.
Exactly, you want that energy. But thankfully, the winemakers in Chablis, they're not just sitting around waiting to see what happens. They're taking action.
So what are they doing? How are they adapting in the vineyards?
Well, some are experimenting with pruning later in the season. That helps delay the ripening process. Others are using canopy management techniques, where they adjust the leaves to create shade and protect the grapes from the intense sun.
It's like giving the vines their own little umbrellas.
Yeah. But it's not just the heat. The book also mentions issues with frost and hail. And even diseases, fungal diseases. Warmer, wetter conditions, those can be a breeding ground for all sorts of problems.
So it's a whole combination of factors that are making things more difficult.
Right. It's a real balancing act, and a lot of producers are turning to more sustainable practices in the vineyard to combat these issues. So they're minimizing the use of pesticides and encouraging biodiversity.
I've heard a lot about biodiversity in vineyards lately. What's the benefit of that?
Well, it helps create a healthier ecosystem. More insects, more birds, healthier soils. It's all connected. Some producers are even going full-on biodynamic.
Biodynamic.
Yeah, it's like a whole philosophy of farming. It's super holistic. It involves things like lunar cycles and special preparations to, enhance the vitality of the soil and the plants.
Wow. So they're thinking about the long-term health of the land, not just this year's harvest. That's impressive.
It is. It's about thinking about the next generation of winemakers, the future of Chablis. And speaking of the future, the book mentions that some producers are even experimenting with new Chardonnay clones, ones that are more disease resistant.
That's so interesting. So they're not just adapting to the climate we have now, they're trying to anticipate what the climate will be like in the future.
Exactly. And that kind of forward thinking is really inspiring, you know? They're not giving up, they're evolving. But climate change isn't the only challenge. We also have to consider the economic side of things. The global wine market is incredibly competitive, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are great wines coming from everywhere these days. So how is Chablis competing?
Well, the top tier wines, the Premier Crus and the Grand Cru, those have a loyal following. People seek them out.
But what about those other categories, like the entry-level Chablis?
Right. Well, I think Chablis producers are focusing on what makes them truly unique. What can they offer that no one else can? You can't replicate that Kimmeridgian minerality anywhere else.
It's their terroir, their secret weapon.
Exactly. And it's not just about the terroir. I mean, the winemakers in Chablis, they're not afraid to embrace technology either. The book mentions the use of precision viticulture.
What is that exactly?
It's about using data, using sensors and technology to monitor the vineyards and the wines so you can track things like soil moisture, grape ripeness, even disease pressure, all in real time.
So they're really fine-tuning everything.
Yeah, it helps them be more efficient, more sustainable, and it allows them to, really dial in and produce the best possible wines.
It's like combining the wisdom of generations of winemaking with, like, cutting-edge technology. That's pretty cool.
It is, and it's that combination of tradition and innovation that I think makes Chablis such a dynamic, exciting wine region.
I completely agree. This whole deep dive into Chablis has been such a learning experience for me. I feel like I've gone from, like, a casual Chardonnay drinker to a real Chablis enthusiast.
That's awesome. That's what we love to hear. Because when you really dive into a subject, you start to appreciate all the layers, the history, the people, the land, the science. It all comes together in that glass of wine.
So to everyone listening, the next time you open a bottle of Chablis, think about everything we've talked about today. That ancient seabed, those dedicated winemakers, the delicate balance, the dance between nature and human intervention. It's a wine that truly reflects a sense of place and a real commitment to quality.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you ever get the chance to visit Chablis, do it. Explore those vineyards, walk through those charming little villages, and experience the magic firsthand.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Chablis, a mineral masterpiece that's facing the future with a whole lot of heart and ingenuity. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Cheers.